evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Closer Look, the show dedicated to bringing you the facts. We ask the questions no one else will, and we get the answers that no one else can. I'm Arabina Apia, and today I'm coming to you from the top of the Senate building overlooking the iconic Parliament Square. Thanks so much for joining us. The Bahamas is on the brink of a transformative change with the introduction of legislation to legalize cannabis for medicinal and religious use in the Bahamas. This progressive initiative, spearheaded by the Office of the Attorney General, is a collaborative effort with the Ministry of Health and aims to decriminalize cannabis for medicinal research and religious purposes through a comprehensive suite of bills. The Cannabis Bill 2023 is the cornerstone of this legislative effort designed to create a well-regulated cannabis industry. It includes provisions for local cannabis production to meet medical needs, to stimulate economic opportunities, and ensure strict regulatory oversight. Among other key elements of the bill, it moves to expunge criminal records for individuals who were previously convicted of simple possession, hereby addressing historical injustices as well. The legislation incorporates rigorous quality control measures and mandates, specialized training for medical practitioners, all in an effort to ensure safe and effective use. From an economic standpoint, the legislation and the legalization of cannabis is expected to generate new business and agricultural opportunities, emphasizing Bahamian ownership and participation. Through a careful and inclusive consultation process, the government aims to garner broad support and facilitate a smooth transition to this new framework. Today, we're taking a closer look at all the different elements of these bills and talking to the nation's policymakers and other stakeholders on the way forward. So stay tuned, because A Closer Look begins right after this.
I always wanted to be a writer. I want to be famous.
I want to be technical and creative.
I always wanted to be in a band.
I want to be a movie director.
I always wanted to be a professional. Yeah!
I want to be creative.
I want to do John Canoe all day.
Should have been a dancer.
I want to be a star!
You soon can be at Cannabis, the Bahamas School for the Creative and Performing Arts.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia, and we are coming to you from the Senate building here in downtown Nassau, overlooking Parliament Square. And today we'll be hearing from stakeholders who are playing a pivotal role in the introduction of a legalized framework for cannabis for medicinal and religious purposes here in the Bahamas. Joining me now is President of the Pharmaceutical Association, Dr. Marvin Smith. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me, and good morning.
Good morning. Absolutely. We've heard so much talk about these compendium of bills. From your perspective as president of the Pharmaceuticals Association, what do you anticipate this bill, what sort of impact do you anticipate this bill to have on the way pharmaceuticals are treated and viewed in the Bahamas?
Well, we're really pleased to see that this bill is now coming to fruition. The association has been promoting and pushing and advocating for medicinal cannabis since 2012. We've worked with at least 3 other governments trying to get this done. We've now had an opportunity to work with this government. I'm pleased to say that after a lot of negotiations and discussions, we think that there is a bill now that we'll be able to bring this morning that properly reflects the proper use of medical cannabis as a tool for our healthcare professionals to really bring relief and comfort and even some cures to a lot of our patients who are suffering from various diseases. So we're really excited about this.
From the medical perspective, what are we looking at in terms of job creation opportunities for persons who currently might be away in university or, who are already here in country?
Well, one of the things that I think it's going to do, and we had this discussion with the government on Friday, is that the cannabis dispensers are now going to be persons who have to have both a pharmacy background and specific training in cannabis as therapy. And so what that will allow us to do is have people who come in with pharmacy technicians or with degrees in sciences who actually have a real path to some new avenues and career choices. All of them will be under the oversight of a pharmacist in the dispensing area. As it relates to the prescribing and other therapeutic areas, it's going to open up a plethora of new subspecialties. I suspect that within the next decade, we're going to see cannabis therapy as its own subspecialty within medicine and within pharmacy.
Now, what role do you see the Pharmaceutical Association and the pharmaceutical industry really playing in, that sort of production, distribution of potential medicinal marijuana products?
Well, I think our first role and our most important role is to be providers of good information and advice, both to the government and to the public. And I think you've seen that in this run up to this bill. We've been very, very aggressive in educating the public and really saying to the government, your current draft doesn't look, some things need to be tweaked, and we're happy that they brought us back to the table and we're able to do that. As it relates to what we're going to be able to do for our patients, this is going to expand the ability of pharmacists to work with our physicians to be able to provide an enhanced level of care. And not just care in terms of treating diseases, but even in terms of helping people who might be at end-stage disease, dealing with chronic pain, other chronic issues. The field of medical cannabis we're just scratching the surface.
I know there's been a lot of conversation around, marijuana being a sort of gateway drug that could lead to recreational use. And so that persons are concerned that the introduction of this from the legal standpoint could lead to that. What are your thoughts?
And this is why we were so aggressive with the government on the idea that these cannabis dispensers have to be related to the pharmacy practice, because we're used to dealing with medicines that have high abuse potentials, codeine, morphine, Vicodin, Percocet. We deal with these things on a daily basis. And so we felt like our profession was best equipped to provide a safe way for patients to be able to get their medicines and to reduce the threat of diversion by illicit use.
Smith, I want to thank you so much for being here. This was a really insightful conversation, and I hope our viewing audience was able to glean some really important information from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. And if anybody wants further information, they can contact us at our website, BahamasPharmacyAssociation.com.
Absolutely. Thank you. There's more of A Closer Look coming up right after the break, so don't move.
The one-stop shop for fashion designers, tailors, students, government agencies, junkaneurs, upholsters, event planners, and Bahamians with a sophisticated sense of style. Commonwealth Fabrics is here to provide everything you need, from the smallest notions to the most elegant and unique fabrics. Family and Bahamian owned since 1979. Commonwealth Fabrics is conveniently located in Palmdale to offer you the best in quality fabric and fashion notions. Come in and visit us today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia. Thank you so much for joining us today for our conversations on cannabis. Joining me now is Mr. Philip Gray, who is the owner and operator of the Quality Care Pharmacy. Welcome to the show, sir.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, Mr. Gray, as someone who works in this industry, what are you anticipating the impact of this compendium of bills to be on the pharmaceutical industry, the potential for jobs, the potential for training and growth and more education for persons in the field?
Well, certainly the first thing is we just several years ago passed the new Pharmacy Act, which I was integrally involved in. Now we see that we have the passing of the Cannabis 2024 bill. It opens the door for additional consultation. It allows for more persons to be involved in the profession, and certainly the economic impact for the country and certainly for growth within the profession is significant. Think of persons with comorbidities and the challenges that may be faced. We have to be well prepared in order to be able to impact and get the best outcomes for our patients. And so certainly we embrace this, and it's a wonderful opportunity for growth.
Well, I know there has been so much conversation around the benefits of medicinal cannabis and the impact that it could have on a number of treatments, and like you mentioned, the comorbidities as well. But how do you respond to critics who says this is not the right time, this is not something that we need to be focused on, and there are already perhaps treatments that exist for some of the things that are being discussed?
Okay, so when you look at the overall impact, whenever there are new introductions of medications, there's always the benefits, and there's always the challenges, and then there's opportunities. Certainly there are challenges with any product that is put on the market, but what we have to look at is, and certainly there are products that are being used for the same conditions already. What we're looking at is improvements as we evolve. Just this weekend, I had a patient, a cancer patient, saying to me that they were up from 2 a.m. in the morning in excruciating pain, and the opioids were not working, but they have been treated in the States and have been able to get relief. In this age of pain management, there's no need for anyone to suffer significantly with pain when there are treatments and benefits from the drugs available.
If you could say one final thing, I guess, to the public, to this administration as they work towards getting this compendium of bills passed, what would that be?
I would say that we spend the time in making sure that we have an informed consumer. I think our persons need to be educated, and we move away from the misnomers that have been present about the euphoria of the drug. And whilst that is a part of it, but we are able to, the derivatives from cannabis can be isolated so that we get best outcomes for patients with at least 18 different areas of diseases. It is one of the wonder drugs that has a broad spectrum of treatments. And so I think we need to encourage the government, encourage consumers to be informed, to read, and certainly to be educated, and not to follow platforms that seem to want to just dispel the benefits, but to really get scientific journals and those sort of things that will help you to be an informed consumer.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. You've provided a lot of great context for what is going to be happening over the next few weeks and months, and so I really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay with us. There's more show right after the break.
I want you to make the most of your talents.
The person that you want to be is predicated on choices.
You're not going to be able to pump fake your way to success. You have to be hungry.
The barriers you face are real. Your capacity to overcome them is also real.
You have the power to lead the crowd and not let the crowd lead you.
We can't build a better country without your strengths.
We want to make sure that you are all that you can be in this nation.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia, and we are having cannabis conversations today from the top of the Senate House, where just below us, the government of the Bahamas is introducing the bill to be debated that will see a regulated cannabis industry introduced here in the Bahamas. Joining me now is the Agriculture Minister, Jomo Campbell. Welcome to the show, sir.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for choosing to come on. I appreciate it. I know that the agricultural industry is going to play a major role in the plans that the government has and the vision that this administration sees for a regulated cannabis industry. I want to talk to you about that vision. What does it mean as a young Bahamian to see this type of legislation being introduced, one which can have a really long-reaching or far-reaching rather impact on agriculture as we know it?
Well, for me, this is a tremendous opportunity, especially as a young Bahamian, given the opportunity to serve in cabinet, to serve in parliament, and now to be a part of this historic legislation. As you know, my ministry concerns itself with anything and everything that grows out of the ground. And so cannabis falls under that umbrella, and we're excited to see this legislation take effect.
So let's talk about the career paths that are going to become available to persons who choose to avail themselves of it.
Well, what we are doing from the ministry standpoint is we want to show by example that we are leading the charge towards food sovereignty and food security. And one of the best ways to do that is by showing the younger generation that the young and old, current farmers, that, you know, the traditional methods of farming, whilst they have their place, can now be supplemented by smart devices. So we just recently donated 2 container farms to the Family Islands, one to Eleuthera and one to Andros. And these container farms can be managed at the touch of a button from a smartphone or from even an iPad. And so to all Bahamians who are studying abroad, we send out the welcome and the invitation for you to come home, because agriculture is now moving along with modern times and technology and involving a lot of science and data and information driven by technology and smart devices. And we know our young persons are more inclined to these type of industries.
To young Bahamians who are looking to enter this industry, who are looking to enter the agricultural field, who are passionate about growing, food, who are passionate about food security, who are just passionate about, our ability to assist ourselves in major ways like this, what would you say?
What I would say is this. You know, this aspect doesn't just stop and start with cultivation, because we're going to be consistently monitoring the farms, monitoring what is grown, and believe it or not, even monitoring the disposal of anything that is deemed to have little or no value. And so that brings into play many aspects of agriculture, not just the traditional slash and burn, but also what we know as BASFA, the Bahamas Agricultural Health and Food Safety Authority, which will have a critical role to play in the monitoring and the registering and the assessing of what is being done. Because if we are providing a product to the Bahamian people and to the world, we want to make sure that we are doing so at the highest standard of quality. And so we want persons to understand that there are a plethora of opportunities out there and available to you. So I would encourage them to familiarize themselves with what we offer under the Ministry of Agriculture and to get on board, because as I indicated earlier, our motto is we believe that we can bring the Bahamas back to the place in which it once was, where everybody, regardless of which island they were from, had a backyard farm. And we want to do that now and take advantage of the cannabis industry and the legislation which is being debated today. I can also indicate that in the very near future, we will be back in Parliament with a bill as it pertains to Indian hemp. Because as you would know, the cannabis plant has value from the root to the leaves. And we want to make sure that we can tap into the value, each and every aspect of that value for Bahamians and near and far. And so we invite all of those who are away with the wherewithal and the knowledge to come home, share what you have learned with us, because the door is wide open for everyone who is here right now in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
That's great. Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Minister, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I think, young people in particular are likely already, they're logging on, doing their research, and it's good to hear that the government is prepared to push that as well.
Yes, and that's the reason why the bill also affords the opportunity for a second chance under the Rehabilitations of Offenders Order that I also spoke about in Parliament. There are a lot of youngsters, particularly in the constituency that I represent, that, may have had a negative brush with the law, but they aren't bad people. And so what we want to do is give them the opportunity now to make a wrong situation right. And what better way to start doing that than by economic empowerment? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for being here, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll return with more of a closer look in just a moment, so stay tuned.
This is the National Youth Guard program designed to train young people to help the Bahama Islands in times of disaster.
I decided to join to better serve my country as well as to better myself.
We train the help in search and rescue,
electrical, plumbing, and carpentry.
And things that they can actually expand on in their careers.
Young people who join the Youth Guard program discover a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, and a sense of patriotism.
This program isn't about only the individuals. It is about the country.
Welcome back. You're watching A Closer Look, and today we are having cannabis conversations. And joining me here today is the Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Darville. How are you, sir?
All is well, and it's good to be here today.
Absolutely wonderful to have you with us. Today is a very special day. I know this is something that you have been championing for a while, and so to see it come to fruition in terms of it being introduced to Parliament, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling very good and sort of satisfied that finally we're here to debate the bill and to begin to demonstrate to the Bahamian people the importance of medical cannabis for patients who have been suffering and who've been crying for years in private.
Now, as a practitioner yourself, you actually have seen these stories come in. You've seen people, like you say, suffering in silence, really. What does the introduction of a regulated cannabis industry really mean for them? Spell it out for us.
Well, for the residents in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas who suffer from debilitating diseases and who have been using cannabis, medical cannabis, as a form of treatment, will finally have the legal parameters in place to be able to access cannabis freely throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and to be able to work closely with medical practitioners who will have to go through a wide cross-section of training to understand the industry itself and how the drug would be utilized in patients with chronic debilitating illnesses.
I think one of the most amazing things has been the level of consultation that we've seen. Earlier we were talking to the head of the Pharmaceutical Association and a pharmacy owner, and they have, praised the government for the level of consultation that has occurred and the fact that they have been included at such a high level. Why was that really important for this administration?
Well, first of all, if we were to put it in the right context, the Cannabis Commission was first put in place by the former administration, and we went on to utilize a lot of the consultative work that existed. We made it very clear, should we have the opportunity to govern, we will champion the legislation, ensure that we bring it to Parliament, have it debated, and have the legal parameters in place for patients to access medical cannabis. Consultation is great because we have healthcare professionals, pharmacists, the Pharmacy Council, the Pharmacy Association, the Medical Council. Very important to speak directly to the healthcare professionals who will play an intricate role with the implementation for the medication and to be able to ensure that it's administered safely throughout the Commonwealth of the Bahamas.
And Minister, can you speak to any of the lessons? You sort of detailed what is going to happen and the process by which this legislation is going to be introduced into law. What lessons have we learned from other countries, other jurisdictions about what to do and what not to do when it comes to implementing a legalized and regulated industry?
Well, one of the greatest things that we've learned in the cannabis industry, particularly in medical cannabis, is always to go slow, start low, and go slow. And that's very important because the medical implications of high THC concentrations can sometimes have a negative effect. And by consultation with our medical associations, our pharmacy associations, as well as all of the councils, we are establishing protocols to make sure that the safety of our patients become paramount and the industry does not fall into any areas where it could hinder the growth and development throughout the country.
Why is now? Why should we be focused on this now? And why should Bahamians start to educate themselves and become aware and, make plans to participate fully in whatever this industry looks like?
Well, first of all, we've been at this for now 4.5 years. And we believe after extensive consultation, we have found solid legislation that is well drafted that we can present to the Bahamian people and to have bipartisan response on both sides of the political divide. I believe the time is now because we have many patients who are reaching out to my office asking for special permission to import medical cannabis. We believe that there is some legal implications with patients who are receiving these treatments, going to other countries and bringing it through customs. I believe we need to put the legal framework in place so these important forms of treatments are available in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and we can begin now to teach the Bahamian people that there's no need to be afraid of medical cannabis that has been vilified and sometimes even abused in the past. These therapies are very effective to treat debilitating illnesses, and Bahamians need to access these therapies. And I don't think we should wait any longer. We have listened to their cries, and we are convinced that we need to bring these therapies to the Commonwealth of the Bahamas and have them widely accessible to patients with real medical conditions, and the time is now.
I want to thank you so much, Minister, for being here. You've shed a lot of light from the government perspective. I really appreciate that. I know our viewing audience does as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and we're excited to where we are today. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have more of our cannabis conversations here from the Senate building in just a moment. Stay tuned because a closer look will return right after this. Whether you support the introduction of this legislation or you're still making up your mind, there is one thing that I think we can all agree upon. And that is that Bahamians suffering from chronic illnesses deserve the opportunity to find relief. And that young Bahamians looking to make their mark in new and innovative industries also deserve a chance to access those opportunities as well. The legalization of medicinal and religious cannabis in the Bahamas marks a pivotal moment in our nation's history. By addressing public health care needs, promoting economic growth, and rectifying social injustices, this legislative move sets a progressive tone for the future. I hope that you've enjoyed our deep dive into these cannabis conversations. I hope that you've been compiling your questions and your concerns, and I hope that you are ready to do your own research into the pros and cons. If you're interested in reading the bills and learning more about the government's plans, simply visit www.cannabisbahamas.gov.bs and follow their social media at cannabis.bahamas on Instagram. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Arabina Apia. Good night.